Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Tuesday, the 5th of August, 2025. U.S. stock market has been open for just about a half an hour. I'm going to tell you right now, I think it's been a little bit of a wild ride already, at least, and maybe not like the big, fast, strong roller coaster, but I got to tell you, there's been a pretty big swing in the market, and a lot of it has come just like really recently, like as few as a couple of minutes ago, maybe 3 or 4 minutes ago, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up. I want to say maybe as much as 50, 60 points. I didn't see exactly where the highest point might have been. And now it's down 55 points. The NASDAQ was up 70, 80 points. And now suddenly it's only up 40 something points. I know that just a moment ago, the ISM non-manufacturing PMI came out. I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that I have a great understanding of that report. There's your PMI composite. It looks like it came in pretty close to what the expectation was. That's the PMI, but the ISM. This was definitely a little bit on the low side. It was expected to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 51.5. It came in at 50.1. I know this number, if it drops below 50, means that manufacturing is actually contracting a little bit. Like I said, I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert about this report. It's not one that I follow quite as closely as some of the reports. And remember, if you listened to the podcast yesterday, I said very specifically that there's a couple of these reports that are out this week that could be temporary market movers. I don't think a bad report right here, and this is a bad report. This was expected to be higher, and this is awfully close to where manufacturing would be considered in some type of contraction versus growth. So there's no getting around the fact that 50.1 is probably concerning for some people. But I don't think that's the type of thing that is going to have a large impact on the market overall for anything more than maybe a day. Maybe nothing else happens today. Maybe the rest of the day today, there's no other news that takes place. And that ends up being the deal breaker for this being a positive day on the Dow Jones or on the S&P or on the NASDAQ. You can see that the Dow and the S&P have now turned negative just a little bit. The NASDAQ still holding on to positive territory, but not by very much. And if there's not, it's only been open for a half an hour, but if we zoomed in on what's happened in that first half an hour, you can see that the Dow started up nicely, dropped a little bit. Even here, it was, still positive territory. And then maybe a few minutes ago when that report came out, it just kind of took a plunge like that. But I wouldn't get, it's early in the trading day. Anything can happen. I wouldn't get overly worked up or overly excited about that report. Before the day is over, you could see things move dramatically down from where they're at right now, but you could just as easily see things move up. There could be, anything could happen. A piece of breaking news about Ukraine, a piece of breaking news about Hamas and Israel, something with a big trade agreement. Trump was on CNBC today, which is kind of rare for him to make an appearance on that network. But he was on there being interviewed this morning, and I recorded it. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. But I know he said something about we're really close to a big deal with China. If later in the day today, or even just later this morning, something was released along the lines of having a deal or an agreement reached with China, you could see a big move up in the market today from where it's at right now. So I wouldn't get too hung up on where it's at right now. It's definitely a big swing with that ISM report coming out, but I don't think that's the type of report that's going to have a lasting impact on where the market goes. In conjunction with other bad news, it certainly could drive the markets for a longer period of time and in a more profound sell-off or a deeper sell-off. But so far, it's had that little initial impact. I don't know if it'll be something that is very lasting. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We're still very early in the trading day. I think more than anything else, probably every member of the Safe Option Strategies program wants to know, what are we going to do with Palantir now that Palantir had this blockbuster earnings? They knocked it out of the park. Look, I said yesterday afternoon in the podcast that you may have listened to last night, that I was on board with those who were thinking it was going to be hard for Palantir to report numbers good enough to really push things in a strong upward direction. I was obviously wrong on that. Palantir absolutely hit a home run. They are up this morning. Their move up is, let's see, where do I have them here? 8.5% right now, up $13.50, almost 8.5% up. That is a good, strong move. I expect Palantir. I think Palantir after today, wherever they might end up finishing today, I think you might see some profit taking and a little bit of pullback, maybe down to 164, 165. And then I think they'll continue, maybe not this kind of a dramatic move up, but certainly a continued move up. I do think Palantir before the year is over is going to be a $200 a share stock. I could see a slight pullback to get them, to bring them down out of overbought territory. Maybe something like this, but not quite as dramatic a pullback as the one we saw 6 months ago. And if you remember, the little pullback they had 6 months ago was largely on an earnings report where they didn't live up to the expectation. They didn't quite, hit what people expected them to. So here's the situation with Palantir. We've got a collar trade on Palantir that looks like this. I've got at least one field here that's not. One field that I need to make a correction in where it says I've got an error. Probably need to fix that, but I'll get that fixed so that we can get an accurate read on where we're at profit and loss wise. But I'll tell you, before the day is over today on Palantir, and for those people that aren't able to watch what we do during the day and they can't look at their emails until the market has closed in the evening, we are going to take. Let me see. I got to expand a couple of these columns that I messed with here a moment ago. Okay, here's the basic plan. We're going to take this 1121 170 short call and roll it out. Probably I'll move it to January. I'm going to do this a little bit later in the day because I think after this initial surge to the upside by Palantir, you could see them give a little bit back before the day is over. You've seen a pattern with some of the companies over this past week that have had really good earnings report. They've been up really high on the day of earnings. By the close of the day, they've been down to where the gain has been much, much smaller. And in the case of Microsoft, they even gave a little bit back the next couple of days and then continued their move up. Microsoft had a massive day yesterday. They're down a little bit today, but not a big deal, quite honestly. They're down 95 cents, and they have been, they spent some time in positive territory today. But that's been kind of a pattern, that big initial surge, and then they give back a little bit over the course of the next couple of days. I could see something like that happening with Palantir. So if they give back a little bit today, I think there's a good chance, and look, I hope I'm wrong, but I think there's a good chance that they could slide a little bit and finish the day below 170. And so I'd like to make this adjustment closer to the end of the day. We'll take this 170 strike short call, we'll roll it out probably to January, probably move it up to 180 or 185, even if that costs us a little bit of money, even if we have to spend a little bit to roll it up to as high as 180. I think I want to go to at least to 185. I'll even see what the numbers would be at 190. And then we'll take this way out of the money 145 long put, and we'll move that out probably, depending on where the stock finishes today or where it's trading towards the end of the day, probably move that out about a month and just get it up closer to the money, and then maybe add a short put that is out of the money and a little closer to expiration. So we will make an adjustment to Palantir either before the day ends or right at the close of the market for tomorrow morning. And we're going to be in fantastic shape on this. This is going to be one, I'll be super excited about this. I think I've got an error here on this because probably I've still got a formula right there instead of an actual close price. I've got to go in and see what I paid on 722 to close this option out, this 142 put. I forgot to put a number in there, but even if I put a 0 in there, and I'll go back and fix this, we're still very profitable on Palantir, looking very good on Palantir. So we'll see where we want to go with this, but I'll go get the actual number in there. I'll be able to look that up in my portfolio. But great earnings report, great numbers, upped guidance. The one and only thing I am a little bit concerned about with Palantir is their current forward multiple is really high right now, and I mean really high. 270 forward earnings. You'd like to see this number around 30 to 40, or at the very least below 100. That's a high bar for forward earnings, even with a company that's growing fast. I mean, that suggests that the company is 270 times. People are trading it and buying it for 270 times what the current earnings suggest for that forward earnings number. That some people are going to think Palantir is way overvalued, and that's why I think they could have a little bit of a pullback after this initial surge today. I don't think it'll keep them from continuing to move up on the year, so I think it's going to remain a very, very good collar trade for us. So don't be impatient with Palantir. We'll make an adjustment before the day is over. Shifting gears to spread trading. CrowdStrike has been up a little bit today. They've been down a little bit today. I know we've got a spread trade right now on CrowdStrike that doesn't look real spectacular, but it's clear out in October. I've kept waiting and kept waiting and kept waiting, thinking they would rebound a little bit. They've had a couple of days of some good upward movement in the midst of this overall downward trend that they're in right now. But then after a little bit of upward movement where you think maybe they're coming back to rebounding, then they slide again. I think they've probably put the bottom in here around 440. So what I'm going to do, I'll do it at the close of the day for tomorrow's opening, and depending on exactly where they finish, what we'll probably do with CrowdStrike is roll the short call down, turn it into a bear call, but I'm going to make it a bear call calendar. We'll roll it down below the strike of the long call, but I'll probably move that short call into something at the end of August or the first part of September. Try and do it at a break even, but get in a situation where we can let a short call expire and then add a new short call well ahead of their next earnings. I think CrowdStrike will rebound and go back up. I actually think being clear out in October, we're going to be okay on this trade. So I don't want to over adjust it right straight into a bear call spread, but we definitely need to do something with it. And possibly I've waited a little bit longer than I should have, but I'm not overly worried about this company being on solid footing and moving back to the upside. So we'll do something with that today. Our Q trade that we set up last Monday, I don't love what's happening with this Q trade, and the reason why is we had that big sell-off, and what I'm a little bit concerned with now is that we rebound, but we don't rebound far enough. We need to be on the Q trade back up here to this 575. Now, we've got almost 2 full weeks to see it go back up there. What we can't afford is to get into kind of this back and forth. I'm going to give it another day or two, but if we haven't seen it move dramatically farther up or see it move back down in the next 1 or 2 trading days, that being today and all day tomorrow, then I'm probably going to adjust this and maybe switch it into kind of a tight iron condor trade, or even maybe move it into some type of an iron butterfly trade where we might have a loss on the trade but be guaranteed it could only be a really small loss. We've got phenomenal overall returns on our spread trade portfolio this year. We don't want to see that disappear because we leave this trade in place too long. So I'll do something with the Q trade probably tomorrow afternoon, unless we see it really trending stronger to the upside today and another strong move to the upside tomorrow. Other collar trades, we've got Snap reporting after the bell tonight. We're set pretty good on Snap. I'm going to leave things in place with where they are on Snap going into the earnings. SoFi will probably make an adjustment in the next day or two. And then we've got Uber reporting. I want to say that tomorrow the Uber reports. I know they report this week, if I remember right. Yeah, they report tomorrow morning, actually. So we'll be making some other collar adjustments after we get a couple of these earning reports, respectively, with Snap and with Uber in the next day or two. All right, now shifting gears really quickly to our Iron Condor, or not our Iron Condor, our triple play stuff. Our Palantir trade is looking good, and I think it will continue to look good through the end of this week. I think we'll be in really good shape on Palantir. We've got earnings reports coming up for Shopify, Dash, and AMD is after the bell today. Microsoft, you may be in a position where you could close Microsoft right now for the profit that you want. Be smart on that one. And then Google is looking much improved. They were up last time I checked. They're still up about $1.90. Google's looking good. And so overall, we're still. Tesla was up at the open this morning. Now they're down about 20 cents. I still think Tesla's going to rally before the end of the week, but it's possible we do one more adjustment on Tesla. I forgot to show that this Etsy trade, we all got out of this Etsy trade last week. I think everyone that reported anything to me said that they got out with their target profit, so we're good on that one. So Google's going to look much improved. Microsoft's going to be a winner. Palantir's going to be a winner. I think all four of these that we opened yesterday are going to end up being good trades. Tesla, I'm a little concerned about, but I do think they'll pop back up today or tomorrow and get back moving in the direction that we need them to go. So we'll keep a really close eye on that, adjust again if we need to. All right, I'm going to wrap up right there. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Tuesday, and watch for that Palantir adjustment to come out either close to the close of the market today or right after the close. All right, thanks everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.